Welcome to the Ultimate Elf on the Shelf Marathon. Over the next hour, we'll be exploring magical moments, mysterious movements, and even some unbelievable elf tricks caught on camera. Grab your snacks, hit that like button, and subscribe. It's gonna be an unforgettable journey. This is one of the strangest elves on the shelves caught on camera clips. Rather than the owners of the elves setting up the camera themselves to catch their elves moving, the elves themselves decided to do the honor by filming themselves moving. The elves recorded this clip in the middle of the night when the owners were sleeping. We have a clip of this kid capturing his elf on the shelf enjoying some Tic Tacs. When the boy points the camera at the elf, it doesn't move, but when the kid turns around and it returns to the elf, you can see that the arms have moved and it starts eating Tic Tacs. It's one of the many clips where elves are too shy to move on camera, but as soon as you leave their presence, they start moving.
I have to go and see what it was.
This clip shows an elf on the shelf that's taken its owner's PlayStation 4 and wanted to return it to GameStop. Now, you might think this elf is a thief, but in reality, the kids were misbehaving and the elf wanted to protect them from ending up on the naughty list this year, so he took away their PlayStation to discipline them.
Spider-Man, Leland! And your controllers!
Come on, we gotta take this.
What? He was almost there, too. He was just right outside the GameStop.
How was he sneaking around?
What was he trying to do? So I think he was trying to return your PS4.
Is there anywhere else that cannot turn into a hiding place? We don't think so. In this clip, a camera captured an elf on the shelf quietly entering the house, but after a while, the elf decided to enter at all costs and hide at a place that will surprise you, so keep on watching. On Christmas Eve of 2013, this elf was caught riding around the house in a tiny car with his Barbie friends. You might not notice anything weird at first, but then it moves a little and walks past the camera only to look at it directly. It jumped down from the counter, opened the door to the pantry, and threw away everything it could reach. There were also a few moments in the video where Barbie drives on her own. And you'll see the elf continuing to drive around his car, causing a mess in the kitchen and having a good time playing with the toys in the house. After the elf had its fun, it returns to the same spot in the kitchen and freezes in the same way with hopes that nothing will suspect it. A kid and her mom caught their elf on the shelf moving on camera by a lucky accident. But in this clip, the elf was seen climbing down from the top of the wall to first rest under the pillows and then suddenly reappear to start moving towards the camera. The elf even seems to be smiling at the end, so let's check it out. Now, this kid practically was informing his father that he did not believe in the elf on the shelf's existence, and we can't blame him, because these days many people don't believe in magical elves. Anyways, this kid was telling his father that he doesn't believe it, and he has no idea what he was talking about. When he returned to his room, an elf on the shelf actually emerged and began flying around, and then the elf on the shelf began to perform various additional actions. Now, obviously, it's just flying around the house and flying around his room, but something crazier happens at the end of the clip, so stay tuned for that.
What is it? What?
He moved.
Who?
The elf on the shelf.
In this next clip, the elf on the shelf can be seen trying to quietly move out of the house before getting caught on camera, and it must have been super shocked because what it did next will surprise you, so keep on watching. We must admit, this is one of the most confusing elves on the shelf caught on camera clips that we've ever seen, because we still don't know if the elf in this clip was trying to have what seemed to be a salt bath or if they were trying to hide in it. Enjoy the clip and tell us your opinions in the comments. This clip shows 3 to 4 elves in a Spider-Man toy sitting on an empty strawberry carton, while a super rare black elf is pushing them from behind until the carton starts sliding down the stairs as if it were a sled. It looks super fun, but they end up crashing terribly at the bottom of the staircase. These elves are super naughty because they're supposed to be investigating the children and they see if they're acting good enough to get the gifts from Santa, but who's looking over the elves? If someone would send this clip to Santa, these elves would definitely get fired, so let's check it out. In this incredible clip, we have an elf hanging from the bed curtain frame, and suddenly it starts moving and slowly making its way to the other side of the frame using only its hand. Now, this elf is probably a gymnast back in the North Pole, and perhaps even elves have athletic competitions, so this elf decided to put in some time into training while it's away from its friends. This clip shows an elf on the shelf who got inside of a toy BMW i8 coupe and started driving around the patio. The elf is not alone, as there's also a little dog sitting in the passenger seat. Now, this is one of the most incredible elf on the shelf clips ever because the elf must know that he's being recorded, but still chooses to continue driving around and having fun with his new furry friend.
You ain't seen this. Buddy and Needles are driving Lily around in the car. This is totally crazy. I've never seen this. I can't believe I'm seeing this with my own eyeballs. Whoa. Uh-oh. It looks like he got stuck. Are you gonna back it up, buddy? There you, oh, whoa. Look at you driving. I cannot believe this. This is crazy. Looks like Lily's having a fun time too.
This elf was captured taking care of a sweet tooth with his fellow elves and making them cookies. This is a very nice gesture, and it shows how caring and considerate these magical beings are. Would you like to taste a cookie made by an elf? We don't know for sure what the elf on the shelf here is doing in this clip, but its movement caught on camera suggests that perhaps there's another elf on the shelf nearby who's about to join his buddy in front of the camera, so let's check it out. These hungry elves are going straight to the kitchen cupboard to get some snacks. Honestly, you'll have to give them credit just for finding where all the good stuff is stored, so you can't even blame them for stealing the food. In this clip, the elves are caught by security cameras taking some sweets, so let's check it out. In this clip, we can see the elf on the shelf being recorded by a hidden camera, which captures him starting to move. The elf slowly moves its arms and legs before using its magical powers to briefly stop the camera from recording. Now we can see the elf looking straight at it, and the elf winks and smiles before using its magic once again, this time to disappear. So all of us know that elves are super talented and they can do many different things and also use magic, which makes many things much easier for them than it would be for us humans. However, this elf was captured working at a mini construction site as if he was trying to build something. The elf is even wearing a safety helmet instead of the usual Christmas hat, so we can only wonder what the elf was building. Now we have a clip showing a baby elf riding around a tiny toy car when the elf discovers one of her fellow elves locked inside a vault cage. The owner is shocked to see one of her cutest elves being locked and starts looking for the culprit, but none of the elves confess, so maybe it was an evil elf on the shelf locked up in the elf cage. Let's check it out.
How'd she get in and how did she get out? Yeah, she's looking out, but hey, you know what? She's still smiling.
Now we have a clip of a baby elf that was flying with methods that are more traditional instead of using hot air balloons or airplanes. This baby elf was using magic to fly. This elf is also way cuter and even more powerful than the normal elves that we're used to, so the guy that recorded him put a secret camera in his living room to record him throughout the night, and he ended up catching this cute little flying elf around the room back and forth until it reached the table and noticed the secret camera recording him, so the elf got scared and turned it off. This one's really crazy, guys. So this kid thought of pranking his elf on the shelf by pretending to leave the room. Little did the elf on the shelf know that he was under surveillance and his every move was being recorded. Some elves are easier to trick than others, but we should love our elves even if they're not moving. In this clip, we have an elf on the shelf who was caught moving by a hidden camera. The elf noticed the camera and approached it before seeing that it was on and that it was currently recording him moving. After noticing that, the elf left the frame and gave a thumbs up to the camera. In a twisted turn of events, an elf on the shelf decided to reveal itself and got caught on camera moving, but only on its own terms, moving enough for the camera to capture its movement, but also hiding from the camera too. In this clip, a hidden camera caught an elf on the shelf moving, but not just that, the elf itself was also seen flying around the house on what seemed to be a magical skateboard before finally finding a place to rest. This is just amazing to see, don't you think? The elf on the shelf was caught red-handed carrying herself in the kitchen. In this clip, the elf takes her time walking between the dishes, then turns the faucet on and relaxes for a moment. But then she takes to the air and flies right in the front of the camera, and that's when she probably noticed the camera and did what she did at the end. In this clip, we have a joyful elf on the shelf who, upon moving, climbed down the Christmas tree and walked up to the cat. The elf looked like it wanted to pet its furry friend, but the cat got super scared of the elf and walked away. It's likely that it's the first moving elf the cat has seen, so that's why it's scared of it. The elf tries walking up to the cat a few more times, but he never succeeds in petting it. We have this elf on the shelf sitting beside his little friend, and in this video, both of them can be seen smiling in front of the camera. Not only that, guys, but they also move their eyes. Alright, it's a little creepy, but that's okay since they meant no harm. You probably know that elves are great beings that are meant to protect little kids. So this dad set up security cameras in his kid's room to capture the elf, and they were checking out the footage, which is just insane and I can't believe it's real. Do you think this elf on the shelf started moving around the camera, or is this fake? The elf on the shelf doesn't want to be seen moving when people are around, but in this case it did start moving while on camera. I don't see how you could fake this, but you can see that the elf on the shelf is moving out of the box, jumping out of the box, and roaming all over the room, and it's absolutely spectacular, so let's check it out. This clip captured a pregnant elf on the shelf moving and giving birth right in front of the camera. This is probably the first time such an event has been captured on camera, and it's truly magical. You can see that the baby elf looks slightly different than its mother because it's still just a newborn, and it will grow up to be a magical elf just like its mother, so let's check it out.
Oh, I just can't believe all of her cuteness. Go ahead, we'll put you right inside there. Oh, such a little tiny cute little baby elfkin. Woo! Memes, is that you? It is!
In this clip, an elf on the shelf was caught moving by the chimney. What happened was the dad was trying to bring back the magic into the elf. You see, his kid accidentally touched the elf, resulting in it losing its magic. It was a really sad moment, but then the dad knew exactly what to do. A little bit of cinnamon powder will do the elf some good. Cinnamon is a great thing to put on your elf to bring their magic back, and after some time, the elf really did move. Make sure to remember this because it's a great trick to have active elves during Christmas. Nighttime is fun for elves on the shelf because they always think that they're alone and won't be caught, and the elf on the shelf in this clip knows how to make use of that time. Unfortunately, there's a hidden camera set up to capture its fun time, so we can say that the elf had failed in some sense, but it also succeeded making the day. Some elves on the shelf are super funny like this one. It was just chilling on a Christmas tree and looked straight into the camera and raised its hand in a dabbing position. It's just insane. It makes you think whether it's something Santa's teaching the elves or it's just this elf that's seen the kids do it many times and wanted to try it itself. Two elves on the shelf displayed impressive magic when they both decided to use magic to create a Christmas tree in their owner's house, and then the elves joined hands together like lovers facing the Christmas tree. That's probably the most romantic elf on the shelf clip ever, so enjoy it to the fullest. We think we're beginning to notice a pattern with some of these elves on the shelf. Some of them might enjoy getting caught in the living room, bedroom, and any other room, but they seem to hate getting caught in the kitchen. Is it because Santa makes them do all the cooking at the North Pole? It seems that way as we watch this clip of an elf jumping down the kitchen countertop and making a run for it. Two elves on the shelf were caught moving on camera and having a string showdown on their own. It's hard to know who will win between the two, so pick your fighter and keep on watching until the end. The security camera of a home captured something bizarre when the owners were not at home. In this clip, the elf on the shelf was caught on camera moving directly in front of the security camera and then started staring at it. What a sight to see. Up next, we have a clip of this girl setting up a camera right in front of an elf who's sitting right under the Christmas tree. As soon as the girl leaves the room, the elf uses magic to teleport out of sight, only to reappear right in front of the camera. The elf starts moving and leaves the frame before returning right in front of it shortly after. What a wonderful clip of an elf on the shelf moving. For this clip, we have an elf sitting between some toys and it slowly starts moving before getting up and leaving the frame. Seconds later, the elf shoves its head right into the camera from above and finally flips it over. This elf probably wasn't happy about its owner trying to record it moving. This kid was introducing their elf on the shelf named Jingle, and later he leaves the elf in front of the camera in an attempt to capture it moving on video. Naturally, he does indeed move, but then it vanishes into thin air. But just think for a second, what if the elf simply didn't move at all while the video was being recorded? That would be extremely embarrassing for those attempting to catch them, but luckily this clip is a success. This guy was flying his drone around the neighborhood when he came upon an elf on the shelf at the playground. Who knew that elves also like spending their time there? But that's not all, because the elf starts moving and using magic tricks to vanish into thin air before reappearing soon after and testing out one of the slides, so keep on watching.
The right way, bro! You're supposed to go down the slide! Guys, I don't think there's slides at the North Pole. Like, I don't know, he doesn't know how it works. Do something off of the shelf, please! Go, oh, yo! What? Where'd he go? Bro, he literally just disappeared. Yo! Hello? Off the shelf, what are you doing? He just went down the slide! Yay! Good!
This clip shows an elf who wanted Kellogg's cereal so bad that it literally dived right inside the box where it enjoyed eating cereal. The elf of this family was constantly teleporting all around their house, so in this clip they decided to trap it inside glass, but as soon as they did, the elf used its magical powers once again and teleported to freedom. The elf appears next to them on the couch, and it's one of the greatest displays of elf magic ever captured on camera.
Wait. It has to be though. What? It's not in there, dude?
Elves on the shelf show that they're not selfish creatures, at least shown by the elf in this next clip. The elf on the shelf was captured on camera laying a blanket on the cold floor with the other two dolls in the house, and even for the car toy. Now that's a caring elf. We can only hope that it also takes care of its owners. Up next is this little naughty elf caught moving and tumbling down this little platform he was standing on, next to the little royal guard. It's just a short video, but it's worth watching. Since it's an elf on the shelf getting caught moving, let's check it out. Now we have a clip of an elf on the shelf recording a gameplay video of him playing Minecraft. We didn't know that elves also like playing video games, and no one can really be sure if it's true or whether this elf is one of a kind who likes gaming. Anyways, he's the only one who has recorded gameplay video, so let's check it out. In this clip, the elf on the shelf seems to be sitting still until suddenly it starts moving. It quickly stands up and walks in circles until it slips and falls back down. Perhaps this elf isn't used to moving its legs a lot, and that's why he fell down, but regardless of that, it's still a pretty fun clip. If you thought your cookies were safe in a cookie jar, then you might want to rethink your belief after watching this clip. So basically, a kid woke up to see their elf on the shelf sitting next to several cookies that has to be taken out of the cookie jar in the kitchen. The elf had even eaten some, as the crumbs indicate. Luckily, the elf left some for the kids to share. This family set up security cameras right in front of their Christmas tree to see if they could capture any of their elves moving. For weeks they waited without capturing anything spectacular until one of the elves started moving on Christmas. This cute elf slowly stands up, leans into the camera, and takes off flying. In this clip, a secret security camera captured an elf sitting on the Christmas tree, but the little friend unexpectedly started moving, making its way down the Christmas tree. When it lands on the ground, the elf starts dancing and hopping around the presents and perhaps evaluating how well the gifts were wrapped. Anyhow, after inspecting the presents, the elf approaches the camera, which is a special camera that can record with night vision. Otherwise, all we could see would just be pitch black. The elf turns its back to the camera, and this wonderful clip comes to an end. For this short clip, we have an elf who's lying down on its side and shaking. One evening, the owner found their elf this way and it just kept shaking. We don't know whether the elf was ill or just messing with its owner, but it's pretty strange nonetheless. Now we have an elf owner who set up a hidden camera in front of the cookie tray to attract his elf to the shelf. But as soon as he leaves the room, you can see his elf popping out from under the table, and as soon as the elf is about to steal one of the cookies, the owner returns into the room and the elf stops moving. If you didn't know, you aren't supposed to touch your elves on the shelf, because if touched, they can lose their magic powers. And that's exactly what happened to this elf, and you can see because their eyes are blank. Fortunately, the owner's an elf on the shelf expert, and she made a magic potion out of cinnamon and foam to help her elf regain its magic powers. So let's check it out.
The magical lock. Okay. Oh, whoa, that was quick. Did you see that? It opened up immediately. Whoa! She just moved. I just saw her move. Okay, let's see. Have my magic gloves on so they will not lose their magical powers. Ah! She is! She's still smiling.
Elves coming alive and starting to move is already scary knowledge, but also knowing that it doesn't only come alive, but can sometimes help with the house chores without you knowing can be even scarier. In this clip, an elf on the shelf is seen flying into the laundry room before flying into the washing machine and then bringing out a sock. What a helper. A mysterious elf chose midnight to fly around the dining room and got caught on camera in the process. While at first, it seemed the elf didn't notice the camera, the way it flew into hiding all of a sudden made us suspicious. So let's check it out. This clip features these elves on the shelf sitting harmlessly on the floor, but it's probably one of the creepiest clips of elves on the shelf we've ever seen. It just looked like two elves rocking back and forth, which is already creepy enough, ended on a surprising note, so let's check it out. In the first clip, the family elf Kara was being asked by one of the family members to tell Santa they'd been really good that year, so they could receive gifts from Santa. But then came the unbelievable. Kara responded with what we think is a yes by moving her eyes in the other direction. Now, according to the family, Carol arrived in their home on December 1st, and just 7 days before Christmas, she moved her eyes, causing them to get scared. But no one should be afraid of elves. They're friendly creatures after all. According to the rule of elves on the shelf, kids are not allowed to touch them. This rule must have been implemented for the safety of these living elves. Maybe these elves actually go extinct, so it's never a good idea to touch them. This clip was filmed with someone actively present, so we can see the person recording his Playing with Elves hat. This is a really bad idea, but in the end, the person got what he wanted because the elf eventually reacted and blinked. In December 2013, an office was explored by an elf on the shelf and it was caught wandering around with 4 surveillance cameras. The team was able to observe every inch of the movement of the elf, which roamed all around the office, checking out the Christmas lights and other decorations. Finally, camera 4 captured the elf moving into another room and coming back holding a piece of paper, which is a scan of itself. The elf probably thought that's how humans take selfies. This little child wanted to catch an elf on the shelf, but it takes a weird turn because not even the kid can figure out what the elf was doing. The elf captured in this clip is a really strange fellow, and his behavior is peculiar to say the least. Our next elf on the shelf caught on camera shows the elf trying to find the right position for it to either sit or rest. The elf is seen moving towards the sink before moving away and then tries to rest on the counter before changing its mind again, and that must have been why it was spotted on the camera that was recording its every movement. In this clip, we have a curious elf on the shelf who noticed the hidden security camera and decided to pick it up and record a short vlog. The elf carries the camera to another spot before placing it down and dancing right in front of it. The elf was probably interested in human technology and decided to experiment and record its own vlog. This clip starts off with an elf on the shelf sitting on what seems to be a bed, but soon enough it starts moving and hopping around. But at the end of the clip, the elf falls down lifeless. As you might know, elves don't like being seen moving, and perhaps at that moment the owner of this elf entered the room, and that's why the elf just suddenly stopped moving. Up next, we have a clip of an elf on the shelf getting baited by a $100 bill. So the elf's owner placed a $100 bill on the ground right in front of the elf, and the little fellow literally jumped off the Christmas tree to claim it.
You see that? You got to be kidding. As soon as I look.
For this clip, we have a shy elf on the shelf who clearly wants to start moving, but it knows that it's sitting right in front of the camera, so it doesn't move much, but slowly wiggles around in its place before it falls down on its side. This clip captured an elf on the shelf who's showing us around the house as if he was a real estate agent. This elf is just restless and is moving all around the place seemingly without a purpose, and even goes to the balcony to sit on a chair, but for a moment until he started moving again. Let's check it out. This elf played so many pranks on this family, and you're about to be in for an adventure. In the first few seconds of the video, the elf starts things off by sliding down the stairs and onto the fire truck toy. Then it drives to the family's room, and then the lights begin to rapidly turn off and on. But that's not the craziest part. The elf goes on to climb up the tree in the fireplace and, well, hooks the family socks. This elf is just so mischievous, but because of that, we have this great clip to show you, so make sure to stick around to the end. For this clip, we have footage from a hidden security camera in the kitchen, and one night the camera captured this wonderful moment of an elf on the shelf moving its face right into the lens before starting to dance and hop around on the kitchen counter. The elf had some midnight fun and finally takes off the counter. If there's one thing elves are good at, it's turning a situation around in their favor. When an elf on the shelf was caught moving on camera, it decided to turn the situation around and tease the camera instead. This guy is aware that something is going on late at night and that their elf was up to something, so he installed a concealed camera to catch this mischievous elf. Let's take a look at what he's got. Alright, so it enters the room, disappears behind the table, and starts flying across the room. This elf is definitely using elf magic, but following this performance, he goes to the bedroom where the man is sleeping, and well, let's just take a look at what the elf ends up doing. In this fascinating clip, we can see two elves slowly approaching the camera, and you can hear them start giggling as they inspect this device. We don't know why the elves were laughing, but maybe they knew their owners were trying to catch them moving. But whatever the reason, their laugh is really cute. Now we have a really rare clip of a red-headed elf on the shelf moving. It's rare to see red-headed elves, let alone them moving. In this clip, the elf appears on camera and it looks like it's carrying something in its tiny hands, but then the elf disappears from sight and returns empty-handed. The elf slowly becomes more comfortable being on camera and inspects it closely before starting to use its magic to float around. The elf on the shelf phenomenon is a Christmas tradition in which elves go around the neighborhood to spy on children and see if they're being good or bad. This elf has no idea that he was being watched by a drone camera as he went around the town. Luckily, he didn't break the speed limit, and this clip just shows how hard the elves are working.
Now we have a clip that shows an elf who has become pregnant. I don't know about you guys, but I've never seen anything like this before. This very well might be the first pregnant elf on the shelf recorded on camera, and luckily the elf starts talking and explaining herself, so let's hear her out.
This woman started hearing bell noises coming out of her fridge, meaning that some of her elves were caught inside of it. When she opened the fridge door, she found one of the elves wearing green clothes hanging upside down, and another elf with more usual red attire being stuck inside a water bottle. The elf wrote a note asking for help. Finally, the green elf speaks and explains how this entire situation came to be, so let's check it out.
The water bottle, but how'd she get in there? What? Zart, how in the world did Meebles get inside that water bottle?
Well, I was hanging upside down and I thought she might want to go in there because it'd be, toasty and cold, kind of like the North Pole. And
This elf on the shelf was sitting still, but as soon as its owner walked past it, the elf started moving. The elf moved a bit and laid down on the side because its owner walked past the shelf again. But as soon as the owner wasn't present, the elf started moving again. This little elf wanted to move so much, but unfortunately for him, his owner was right next to him, so he couldn't risk being seen. So this YouTuber was flying his drone around the playground near his house looking to capture some beautiful winter footage, but he got shocked by an elf on the shelf that appeared in frame. Apparently, the elf jumped to the ground and latched onto the drone. You can see his little elf legs wiggling around, but eventually we can see the entire face of this elf. This is an amazing clip showing that elves on the shelf can be captured moving not just inside the house, but also outside, so let's check it out.
Can ever say they saw this, that's for sure. This is crazy. Oh my, okay. That's it. You know what? If he doesn't want to get off the drone, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna fly it so fast he'll have no choice but to fall off. Come on, keep going, keep going. Look, he's shaking. He's shaking off. This might be working, actually.
Okay, you won't be able to convince me any longer that these elves didn't develop a taste for cereal at this point, due to the fact that this family has heard noises coming from cereal boxes the night before. The family was determined to find out what the elf was up to and trapped him before it could get away, so the next day they decided to set up a camera in order to catch their elf in the act. The hunch was correct, and he was actually hanging around and snacking on some sugar cookie cereal. But more than that, he appears to be in a state of limbo, and that's just what you get for being a glutton. Anyways, let's have a look at this clip and see what happens at the end. As you might know, elves on the shelf move around only during the night so they can't be seen by humans, but this clip shows something different because it proves that some elves also move during the day and even scare children in broad daylight. Just look at this elf simply chilling at the fireplace. It's one of the stranger clips because it's super weird to see an elf moving in bright daylight, and it even seems to be aware of the fact that he's being recorded, but it doesn't stop him from moving, so let's check it out. This clip is from a family YouTube channel which captured a unique elf. It's unlike all other moving elves on the shelf because this one is just a giant elf. It must be the size of an adult person, and who knew that elves can grow that tall? Unfortunately, this elf was really angry that it was that tall, and it's just making a mess all around the house, like throwing furniture around. Maybe this elf got fired by Santa and became angry because now he doesn't have a job.
Sounds like it's getting a pan.
Yeah?
What is it?
He almost looks familiar.
Oh no, what's he gonna do with that? Nothing.
Nothing, alright.
Oh, he's gonna mess with the chairs.
Gigo, he's just like you.
He is a naughty little elf.
He looks
Did
familiar,
you tell
though.
someone to go into the house and break into our house?
What did he just do?
He turned on the sink.
He turned on the water.
Are you serious?
The water.
This clip was captured by a spy camera, and it shows an elf on the shelf who's trying to escape the house. While it should be happy to be spending time with a company containing other toys and dolls, this elf isn't so and decides to sneak around.
This girl woke up in the morning to find a note left by her elf, saying that they were going out to hide in the nearby forest, and luckily the note included the GPS coordinates for the owner to find her elves. She started walking to the coordinates and ended up finding not just her elves, but also a plethora of other dolls and toys. Her elves have probably hosted some sort of forest party for all the toys in her closet, and it's just amazing.
Let me get you down from there. Oh no, sorry.
You.
I'm sorry, baby.
He probably has a concussion from that.
We'll take him to the doctor.
Mom, we can't take him.
But how are you gonna touch? You can't touch the elf. How are you gonna get him down? Or take the branch?
Either the elf on the shelf in this video is trying to get down by floating in the air and eventually flying away, or the elf eventually falls. It's hard to tell, but it's a cool clip nonetheless. Elf on the Shelf was caught on camera moving from one place to another. The elf was caught riding a tiny toy horse and being accompanied by another doll, but it left the other two to climb up the chair, but then jump on the table to find itself a hiding spot. So let's check it out. Supposed to not have the ability to
Because they heard noises coming from the cereal box the night before, the family set out to find what this elf was up to and trap him before he could get away. In order to catch the elf, they set up a camera the next day. Because of this, the hunch turned out to be right. He was hanging out and eating some sugar cookie cereal. In any case, let's check out the video and see what happened at the end. Now we have a rare instance of an angry elf on the shelf who saw the hidden camera and attacked it. The elf punches and even headbutts the camera. The elf probably got angry at its owner for trying to catch it moving because the elves can't allow themselves to be recorded in motion. The elf keeps punching and hitting the camera before flipping it over at the very end of the clip. What a rare sighting of an elf on the shelf moving. If you think elves are not intelligent, then this video will make you reconsider your stance on that, because this particular elf on the shelf displayed elf intelligence by using a grappling hook to climb the table and open the sweet jar from Santa. For this short clip, we have an elf who was caught walking on the sleeping dog. This elf likely wanted to play with its furry friend, and in turn, it got caught moving. What a marvelous sighting. When this girl was sleeping one night, she woke up to strange noises coming from the living room. So she rushed downstairs to see what was going on, only to find herself in the middle of hundreds of elves. It's literally insane, and her elf on the shelf was also present in the middle of the gathering, so maybe it invited its friends over for a party or something like that. I'm really curious about what they were really talking about. Maybe they were just having fun, or there's some chance that they were planning something bad. Well, it's up to you guys to decide, so make sure to keep on watching until the end.
There is lots of Elf on the Shelf, and I mean lots of them.
An elf on the shelf was caught on camera lifting itself from the inside of Santa's socks and then started moving around the house until it got to the bag where there was a lot of candies inside. After a while of trying to create a sleeping spot for itself in between the candies on the floor, it finally went back to staying inside of the socks. It's probably much warmer than the alternative. Now we have a clip of this elf on the shelf seemingly sitting still on the kitchen counter, but soon enough it starts moving its eyes. You can clearly see that the elf is looking around to see if it's alone in the room and whether he can start moving freely. Now we have a funny clip of this energetic elf dancing in the living room. After showing off his Ben Stance move, the elf gets on the dog and starts to take a ride to the TV, where the elf gets on the mantelpiece, joins his elf friends on the TV, and starts dancing again. This elf keeps dancing until the TV turns off. What a crazy clip. Now we have a clip of an elf moving around an UGG shoe before making a leap and landing right into the shoe. This elf is talented. It appears that the family's suspicions about the elf on the shelf have increased, and they believe he's likely roaming around the house. And in order to provide him with a little light, they propped him up in front of the laptop because, you know, they had to turn all the lights down in order for the elf to believe that they're sleeping. And scary enough, it moved its head in a strange way, which is going to impress a lot of you, so let's check it out. These two guys failed to catch their elf moving, so they had a genius idea of watching the elf moving next to their elf while recording it with a secret camera. Their plan worked out because their elf started moving and its eyes even changed color at the end of the clip. It's one of the most fascinating elf on the shelf caught moving clips ever, so let's enjoy it together.
We thought at the beginning the elves were like regular humans, but really, it really shows when an actual human's beside them, right?
Will Ferrell's tall. He's like 6'5".
Yeah, but I mean, nah, but compared to these guys, look at them. They look like little shrimps. It's like me versus like you or something.
It looks awesome. Look at the it has like a speed.
Dude,
While this is one of the shortest clips on the list, the surprise it packs will give you thrills. Not only did we get to see an elf that decorates, but we also got an elf on the shelf that would go into hiding immediately rather than admire its own work. It doesn't matter how long it takes when an elf on the shelf decides to do something, because they do it eventually. In this clip, a kid sets up a hidden camera to catch his elf on the shelf moving on camera, and what this camera managed to capture will scare you and will make you question everything you know about elves on the shelf, so let's check it out. In this clip, you'll see a cheeky elf on the shelf using a small snow machine inside a house to, well, make snow. More experienced elves on the shelf can just use magic to conjure snow, but this one is probably a younger elf who just wanted to have some fun with the snow machine. So let's check it out.
In our house.
This little girl was soundly asleep, probably dreaming of Santa's gifts. Their surveillance camera catches a glimpse of an elf peeking at her multiple times. It had multiple attempts to come near her, bouncing all over. The father caught the elf sleeping beside the little kid and thought that he saw the elf smile. What a wholesome clip. We know that an elf on the shelf can be crazy at times, but in this clip, we have two elves playing with jelly as they pour it into a bowl. While one stirs the bowl, the other one continues to add water inside the bowl full of red jellies. These elves on the shelf seem to be pretty playful as they embark on their unhealthy cooking agenda. As one elf places an empty packet on the other elf's head, they seem to be having the time of their life in this kitchen. We can also see how one elf dips the other elf into the red jelly bowl like a French fry being dipped into ketchup. This is just super amazing to see. This elf is caught on tape for being so mischievous at night. She's wary of being caught at first, only to be caught later as she was captured on camera by flying midair. This happened twice, so keep an eye out for it. Here we have another clip showcasing elves eating their Thanksgiving dinner. The elves can be seen with evidence of the food they stole right in their mouth. We can't blame them because they might have known that they might not be invited to Thanksgiving, so they decided to take food for themselves.
Well, look at the mashed potatoes. Mabel started mashing them. She's so
It's said that mysterious things happen in the dark, and this clip shows such examples because a mom who recorded it captured this fascinating moment of her elf on the shelf using magic to fly and teleport all over the place. This is truly amazing. So 2 weeks before Christmas, this dad caught their elf on the shelf just flying in the middle of the video, and he was recording. Actually, this dad and his family have a verified elf on the shelf YouTube channel that they captured their elf moving a few times, so it must be a real video, and what you're seeing has happened for real. It's about to get even crazier, so make sure to keep on watching until the end. This guy is on a quest to catch the elf on the shelf moving over the Christmas season. He tried putting chocolate coins and candy canes in front of the elf to make him move and grab a piece of the chocolate for a snack, but it's not gonna work. He needs to pay closer attention to the elf, but nothing appears to be changing, so he turned off the lights and installed a night vision camera, and then the elf vanishes, leaving the goodies half empty. What happened to it? Fortunately, the guy fitted a GPS tracker to the elf to keep track of it, and where do you think the elf on the shelf went? Of course to the North Pole, and the elf is probably going to tell Santa everything that's happened to him. For the elf on the shelf in this clip, nighttime means playtime. In this clip, an elf on the shelf can be seen moving and trying to wake up its sleeping friends. After a long time of disturbance, it eventually falls on its friends and joins the sleeping camp. Elves also need rest. This clip shows one of the elves driving a super expensive sports car. Obviously, it's a toy car because no elf on the shelf is large enough to drive a normal car, but it's just crazy to think that they know how to drive, and it shows that elves on the shelf have many different talents. A mom caught two elves on the shelf playing with each other in her wardrobe. The elves were seen facing each other as they kept playing and didn't seem bothered by the mom recording them. This dad decided to catch their elf on the shelf just a few days after Thanksgiving because he has tried many times before, but has yet to be able to catch anyone moving. He can only hope that an elf was caught this time. However, because they don't have a chimney, they think that the elf on the shelf will most likely come into their home through the front doors. As a result, he set up cameras and lights right at the entrance, and after a few hours of waiting, the elves finally came through the door just as the dad predicted. This is a perfect elf on the shelf clip, so let's enjoy it together. This guy wanted to cut his elf on the shelf open to see what was inside of it, and you should never hurt your elves on a shelf like that because they're live creatures, and as you will see, the elf just disappeared from the table and just reappeared on the ceiling, meanwhile shutting off the lights. This is one of the creepiest elf on the shelf sightings ever.
What the heck? Yo, I don't know how he's able to do this, and I don't know why his eyes are glowing red, but I don't like this. Yo, what the? Cause he just disappeared. What the heck? His eyes are there now. Where did he go? Elf, where are you?
This shows elves on the shelf caught red-handed at the scene of their crime. It's the second day of Thanksgiving, and these elves must have been angry about not getting an invite to eat because they ended up breaking into the family fridge and having a feast. We can learn from this clip that it's better to just invite your elves to Thanksgiving because they might get their piece of dinner one way or another. Up next, we have an elf on the shelf who appears in front of the camera and then quickly turns its back and walks away from it. A second later, the elf approaches the camera again, but this time the elf is rubbing its hands. The little fellow was likely planning something mischievous because it left its side again, only to reappear with its friend. These two elves keep showing up in front of the camera until their owner enters the room, and then one of the elves just barely stops moving in time to avoid getting caught. This next clip was recorded by a girl who woke up in the middle of the night and only sees her elf moving around in bed, so she started recording it with her phone, and she captured this marvelous sight of her elf on the shelf moving around, but it quickly notices her recording, so the elf stops moving as if nothing had happened. This elf noticed that his owners were trying to capture him moving on camera, but instead of sitting still and not moving at all, he decided to wave at the camera, gifting us this wonderful clip. Now we have a clip from Meeble Spirella, who is one of the most well-known elf on the shelf catchers in the world. She has caught many elves moving around her home and causing problems like stealing cookies at night and even messing with her cat. In this clip, she's caught an elf on the shelf trying to break into a bird cage, and it just is insane, so keep on watching to see how it ends.
Upstairs, and I looked everywhere for my elves, and I could not believe what I found. Yep.
It's important to understand that there's a difference between an elf on the shelf flying and an elf on the shelf floating. Flying requires much stronger magic compared to floating, and in this clip you'll see an elf who's floating. It might be a young elf who still doesn't know how to use more powerful magic. This clip shows two elves, one wearing red and another wearing pink, sitting on their toy horses, as if they're preparing for a race. However, the elf who is wearing red clothes just starts riding towards the camera. We can only wonder whether the elves wanted to race and got scared of being recorded, or they didn't even plan to race in the first place and just wanted to ride around on their little horses.
He's riding his reindeer. What is he doing, girl? What is he doing? Oh, he's gone.
Got some tears because that's so funny. Holy bubblegums.
Wait, he's coming back. What in the world?
For this clip, we have an elf who is caught moving, but as soon as the owner entered the room to approach the elf, it jumped and stopped moving until landing. The elf knows it got caught. For this short clip, we have an elf that started moving at night. It peeks its head from behind the couch, but soon after, the family dog notices the elf moving and starts chasing after it. The elf even hides behind the couch, so let's just hope that the dog wants to play with the elf instead of tearing it apart.
This elf on the shelf got super mad at the kids for making it angry, and it got discovered sitting and flipping one of the kids off. The elf even left a note explaining that it's angry because the kids were behaving badly towards it. And well, while the elf should be setting a good example for the kids to follow, we can't blame it for losing its temper. This clip was captured by a man who set up a camera to catch his elf on the shelf floating around his bedroom before it started moving towards his pillows and acting as if it had gone to sleep, and finally moving down the bedside to hide on the floor. We have a clip of this guy having dinner with his elf, and as he finishes eating, he stood up and left the room, but unbeknownst to the elf, his owner left a hidden camera right in front of the elf. The elf ends up getting captured by a camera and coming to life and moving around. It even peeks into the cup to see what the owner was drinking. What seemed to be an innocent clip of grandma unwrapping items turned out to be something straight out of a movie scene. A camera caught an elf trying to walk out of the house before being caught on camera, and well, let's just take a look. For this clip, we have a sighting of an elf on the shelf who was spotted all by himself at a haunted park. This elf escaped its owners and went hiding there so no one would find it because it didn't want to get brought back to its owners. But this YouTuber tracked it down and captured it on camera.
Over there? Oh my god, guys. I'm literally just gonna...
This clip is a short segment from a TV news report that shows one elf on the shelf doing all sorts of crazy stuff on camera. So you're not supposed to see an elf on the shelf with your own two eyes because apparently the elves can lose their magical powers if that happens. But if you record them on camera, nothing bad ends up happening to them, so keep on watching.
Now watch the following clip to see the most badass elf you've ever seen. He went to get some Fruit Loops in the morning when the rest of the family was still sleeping, and the boy who caught him just got so annoyed by what the elf did. The elf even grabbed the marshmallows on the table, so he must be really missing the sweets from the North Pole. For this clip, we have two elves that were arriving at their owner's house. The elves used a zip line to come to the front of the door, and this entire clip looks like it's taken right from Mission Impossible movies. When the elves got to the front door, they hid from the camera and possibly entered the house through an open window. An elf on the shelf played hide and seek with the camera as it moved around what seemed to be like a kitchen. After playing hide and seek with the camera for a while, it had to be forced into permanent hiding when the dog came into the kitchen. We think this elf was afraid of the dog snitching on it. For this clip, we have an elf who decided to surprise its sleeping owner by descending from the ceiling and hopping onto her head, which was enough to wake up the girl. Surprisingly, she gets scared and starts shouting. Perhaps she didn't see that it was an elf, and that's why she got so scared. The elf on the shelf in this next clip will rather choose to play hide and seek in the kitchen than stay put in one position, so let's check it out. Now we have a clip that captured the spontaneous moment when this dad got their elf on the shelf moving in the middle of the night. Right before this footage, he was told by kids that they should put on a CCTV camera to catch the elf, and so here we are. It turns out you should listen to your kids, especially when it comes to magical stuff like you're witnessing in this clip. This clip was recorded by a girl who was playing with her elf on the shelf in the pantry when she noticed that another elf, this one wearing black clothes, is trying to squeeze under the doors. As she picks up the elf, she notices that he doesn't have any legs, and then the other two elves can be seen waving to the girl from the other side of the doors. According to the girl, the two elves actually locked her inside the pantry, and she had to wait for hours until her mother came back from work to unlock the doors. Who knew that elves could pull such evil pranks off on their owners?
Okay, you don't look as derpy. You look a little wonky. Your hat's coming off, Evel. But look at, there's this perfectly derpy little guy. He looks happy. And then here's this little sad squished guy who lost his legs in surgery. Oh, hello! Welcome! Yes, we have a derpy, we have some your members, but guess what? They got a new makeover!
One of the famous Christmas songs was playing in the background when this little elf was seen dancing. It sure looks fun. The elf on the shelf is raising its small arms in the air, dancing about the home. But first it checks to see if anyone's watching. As soon as the song ends, the elf returns to its cozy corner under the warm Christmas tree. After all, that's the favorite resting spot of all elves. This clip shows footage from a hidden camera which captured an elf on the shelf flying. You can see one elf standing on top of what seemed to be a table and leaning on a glass candle holder, but after a while the elf suddenly sets off for a quick flight and finally comes towards the camera to stare at it. The elf probably noticed that it had recorded everything, and now it wants to turn it off and delete the footage. For this short clip, we have footage of a security camera at a garage. It captured an elf who entered the garage, turned on the lights, and looked straight at the camera. The elf was probably planning to do something more, but it noticed the camera and escaped the scene. This clip isn't anything new, but a moving elf is still fascinating to watch. Did you notice the elf's movement near the door? According to the video's owner, he was astonished when he saw the clip recorded on a surveillance camera, and then he was super happy about his decision to place it there. A YouTuber named Nicholas Bradley uploaded a clip of his elf on the shelf doing what most elves do, avoiding the camera at all costs. Unfortunately for the elf, the camera captured most of his movements, well, until it spotted the camera itself. Now we have a clip of this cheerful and adorable elf that was discovering playing in the house and being watched by the cat. After climbing the stairs, the elf balances itself high up on the stair railing before sliding down. The landing probably hurt, so he's gonna try it again with a pillow. Fortunately, the cat was super patient with his little elf friend and no harm was done to it. While some elves on the shelf don't mind getting caught on cameras, and some even wave at the camera once they spot it, there are also some elves who just don't like getting caught on camera moving, and will do everything to avoid it. A great example is this elf, who after trying its best not to get caught flying, eventually got caught. Now we have a short clip of an elf sitting on a mantelpiece. The elf suddenly starts moving and hides behind a sign. Let's take a look at this marvelous clip once more, and this time in slow motion so we can better see the elf moving. In this classic Elf on the Shelf clip, we can see the elf slowly start moving around, but before it looks around to make sure no one can see it, it takes off. Clips like this show that the elf on the shelf can definitely come to life and move on their own, but only if no one's watching them. For this clip, we have an incredible sighting of an elf appearing in front of the camera out of thin air before slowly making its way towards the recording device. Not long after, the elf uses its magic again to vanish out of thin air, but just a second later, the camera starts shaking and another elf on the shelf pops right into frame. In this clip, we have two elves that were caught walking right across the living room. At the beginning, the first elf makes its trip across the room, and later we can see the second elf following suit. What an incredible clip.